Are you landing first and second interviews but not getting the job? If you answer yes to this question, then this video is for you. Today we're going to be talking about 5 things that you can do to improve your interview skills. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Akila and I'm a certified career coach. The mission for my channel is to help others uncover a more fulfilling career path and to take practical steps to achieve that career path. If this content resonates with you, feel free to like, subscribe, and share this content. Now let's get into today's topic. Today we're going to be talking about 5 tips that you can take in order to improve your interview skills. The first thing is always ensure that you are researching the company and the persons that you're meeting with before the interview. It's very important for you to know about the company you're going to be meeting with. Ensure that you know what products they're selling. Ensure you know what their corporate values are. Okay. One of the top interview questions that is typically asked is, why do you want to work for this company? Doing this research ahead of going into the interview will help you to answer that question. But more importantly, it is important for you to research the person or people that you're going to be meeting with. Why? That will help you to tailor how you answer your interview questions. So let me give you an example. If you are, let's say you're a software developer and your first interview is going to be with the recruiter, the way in which and let's say this recruiter isn't a technical recruiter, the way in which you answer questions for the recruiter is going to be different from how you answer question for the hiring manager. Because of course, the recruiter, who is not a technical recruiter, will not necessarily understand technical jargons, right? As opposed to a hiring manager who may understand those technical jargons. So researching the person that you're meeting with is important because it will help you to frame how you answer your interview questions. It also helps you to build rapport with that person. So let's say, for example, you've gone online, you've checked them out on their LinkedIn page, and you see that, let's say, for example, they've been to a recent conference, right? An icebreaker topic when you go into the interview could be, hey, John Brown, I noticed that you went to XYZ conference. How was the conference? I've always wanted to go. How was the keynote speaker? It's a great icebreaker in order for you to connect with your interviewer. Okay, oftentimes we go into the interview and we sit and we say good afternoon or good morning and we let them start rapid fire questions, right? Whereas you can go into an interview and build a minute of rapport with your interviewer that will help you to relax and help the interviewer to connect with you as well, which will help the overall process to go smoother, and it will help with your level of anxiety and nervousness. Okay? The second thing that you want to do is you want to create what is known as a job matrix. Okay? This will help you to effectively prepare for your interview. So what a job matrix is that you will have 3 columns. One column will have all the bullet points from the job description. The middle column is a section where you will describe how you meet that particular job description item, right? So you're writing out an example of how you meet that job description item. And then the third column is the gaps column. Now, let me explain the second column. The second column is important because essentially you are actually thinking ahead of time about exactly and documenting exactly how you meet this job description item, so that when you go into the interview, you can efficiently speak about how you match the job description when asked questions. Now remember that point because we're gonna talk about it a little bit later in this video. You want to be able to speak directly to the job description item using examples. So going through this job matrix will help you to document those points and also concretize them in your brain as well. The third column, which is the gaps column, is very important. You're not going to match everything that's on the job description, and that is okay. But what you need to do is identify something as a gap and take steps to start filling that gap before the interview. That will show that you have taken the initiative, right? And you are assertive. So let's say, for example, the gap is there's a new software that you've never used. Let's say you are you're a salesperson and they're using Salesforce. You've used other sales related tools, but you've never used Salesforce before. What you can do is actually start researching. You can go on YouTube, you can go on the Salesforce page and start researching how to use this tool. So when you go into the interview, you can simply say to them, no, I've never used Salesforce, but I have used other sales tools such as, and you can list them. And then you can mention that, you have a propensity for learning new tools and you've demonstrated that throughout your career. And then you can say, but I've already started taking the steps to learn Salesforce by doing XYZ. And you can list the things that you've been doing. That actually shows initiative, and that's a positive quality for the interviewer. Okay? The third thing that you want to do is you want to prepare general, situational, technical, and behavioral questions for your specific role. You can go and Google, and you can Google interview questions for XYZ role. And then you can Google general interview questions for XYZ role, behavioral interview questions for XYZ role, situational interview questions for XYZ role. And what I want you to do is take all those questions, put them in what is known as an interview bank, so an Excel sheet, wherever you want to do it, and create a template for answering those questions. And what I mean by a template is you will have to tailor your answers per the job description, which is the next point we're going to get to. But you want to have a template for how you're going to answer that question. And what this helps you to do is to develop the skill of answering questions effectively. If you have a bank of answered interview questions, all you have to do when another interview comes up is to go to your bank, go through the list of questions and just tailor them to the job description. Okay, and the more you answer those questions is the better you're going to get at answering them in the interview. So as many questions as you can answer and put in your bank, the better off you will be long term with interviewing in general. Okay, the better you'll get at interviewing. So you definitely want to kind of create that interview question bank where you have those templated interview questions answered. The fourth thing is, as I had mentioned, you definitely want to tailor your interview, your answers specifically to the job description. What does that mean? When you're answering an interview question, you want to always refer back to the job description. So if they ask you, why do you want to work for this company? Of course, you're going to talk about the product, you're going to talk about the corporate values, but you also want to talk about what some specific things in the job description that you think you are great at or you can bring value to. If they ask you, to talk about a particular situation in a previous role that was a problem that you had to overcome. Again, you want to potentially choose a situation that is aligned with something in the job description, because what you're doing in this situation is you're creating a connection. You're choosing a situation, you're explaining how you overcame that situation, but you're also creating a connection in the interviewer's mind that, hey, this is a problem that we have at our organization too. And I've seen that that person has already solved that problem. So you're creating that connection. And you can always say, you know what, I had XYZ problem, similar to, on your job description where you say you're looking for somebody to do XYZ. And then you talk about how you solve the problem, right? That creates a clear connection in the interviewer mind that you can actually do what they're asking for in the job description. Okay, so you always want to refer back to the job description. When you're answering the question, tell me about yourself, you literally want to pick things from the job description and demonstrate how you have done these things throughout your career, right? And ensure that you're especially the important things. So what I mean by everything is important, but what I mean by the important things is typically they will have a section in your job description that says about the role, where they will give you a summary of what the role is about. You want to make sure that when you are describing yourself and you're telling them about yourself, you are creating an image in their mind that you can do that high level description of what the job is about. Make sense? Now, the fifth thing is, this is something that is not thought about and is not instinctive for most people, is you want to make the interview conversational. What we do is we will go into an interview and we will sit and we will have them ask rapid fire questions. And that actually makes most candidates very nervous. Okay? If you go into the interview and you make it conversational, essentially what you're doing is you're simply just having a conversation, right? You're not allowing the interviewer to ask all the questions rapid fire. You're also asking questions strategically to ensure that you're also gathering information from the interviewer. Okay, so the analogy I like to use here is this: if you went on a first date with someone, you wouldn't allow them to ask all the questions because you also want to ask them questions to see if they're a good fit for you and if you want a second date, right? It's the same thing with interviewing. You need to assess whether or not this company is a good fit for you as well. So you need to have strategic questions ready and prepared to ask. And let me give an example of how you can do this. Let's say they ask you, why do you want to work for this company, right? And you list off all the reasons why you want to work for this company. At the end of your statement, you can say to them, well, John Brown, I noticed you've been working with the company for the last 8 years. What would you say is the best thing about working for this company? And what would you say is a pain point, right? That gets them talking and it gives you a break, okay? It gives you a break to kind of get yourself together, and you're also receiving important information from the interviewer as well, right? Another thing that you can do, another strategy that you can employ, which is along the lines of having a conversation, is sometimes in interviews, they may describe a process to you. They may describe, hey, this is what our sales process is like. What you can do is you can reflect that back to them, what they said, right? And say, hey, you know what? This seems pretty similar to what I did in my last organization, but have you tried doing ABC? And what that does is it shows your expertise of the particular process. Let's say it's a sales process, without them even having to ask any questions, because you're speaking to them as an expert to say, hey, this is great. This is great that this is how you've done it, but we've done it, or I've seen it done in XYZ way. Have you ever tried doing this? Like, is this something that you'd be open to trying, right? And again, you are now putting yourself as the subject matter expert. And again, that's a great way to sell yourself. Okay? So those are my 5 tips to improve your interview skills. If you liked this content, again, feel free to like and comment. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comment section. And yeah, come back next week for more career tips. Thank you.